In this video, we're going to take a look at the conditions in thinking particles. We're going to go ahead and create our thinking system and get into the UI, and we'll switch the viewports around. We'll create our first dynamic set, and let's just go ahead and use a generator particle draw, and we'll create, let's just go ahead and create one particle out here. Okay, draw a particle. And of course, it's going to place that particle in the all group. We can see that's it's going to be born at frame 0 with a count of 1, and his lifespan right now is set to 30. Let's go ahead and change that lifespan to 50. Okay, and what we want to do is we want to go ahead and create another dynamic set where we're going to modify or use that first one. And let's go ahead and come up here to groups and say we want to be looking at the all group because that's the particle we have out here. Now you see we don't see that particle out there right now. That's because Master Dynamics set to edit on the fly, so we have not scrubbed the timeline yet, so he doesn't appear. Go ahead and scrub to see him. There he shows up. Okay, and what we want to do, let's go ahead and we'll shrink this down. So we want to say, we want to take a look at these conditions up here. This is where the conditions are at. The conditions give us the ability to detect when certain things happen in thinking particles. It's not the only place we can do that, but it's kind of the primary. We can also specify certain time intervals for things to happen, detect if particles are inside lights, if those particles are inside a certain group. We can also force things to always be true, detect a distance, whether or not a particle is within a certain distance of something else, as well as whether or not it's inside of a mesh object. And we can also activate conditions based on the particle's age with a bunch of different parameters. And then one of the most powerful ones is threshold, which we'll take a look at individually. Let's go ahead then first and actually just kind of look at what we're doing right now. We've got one particle, but we actually want to create a couple more particle groups. The reason will become apparent here in a second. Let's go ahead and create our standard red group, and we'll create this one as the green group. Just easy colors, easy to see. And we'll come back up to particle draw, and we're going to switch that particle and make him be part of the red group. Okay. Something interesting, you can see that particle tick show up right there, but I'm not sure if you can actually tell. We'll go ahead and just do this for example's sake. There's something special that happens when you select the particle draw. You get these red dots out here in space. This will show you where those particles are going to be born. So if I don't have particle draw selected, no dots. If I select them, then we can see where those particles are going to be born. Let's go ahead and remove, because now we have a count of 5. Let's just go ahead and remove that and create just one particle. And we'll scrub, we'll see that update. And to avoid all that updating, we're going to go back to Master Dynamic and turn off Edit on the Fly. So we've got one red particle, and let's go ahead and tell him that we want him to go ahead and be moving at birth. And again, it's very important to remember that this born particle output only affects the particle when he's born. So when he's born, he's going to get some velocity information, but this velocity information is only going to be initiated and affect him at birth. And of course, there's going to be inertia until something else happens to change that. But this is what's going to affect him at the moment he's born. You can do that as well. You could add like a spin operator, or assign particle size, etc. Anyway, we'll send him down the y-axis, and he's gonna go ahead and run down that way. Let's make him go a little bit faster. Okay, and what we want to have happen is we want to take a look at the particle conditions. So let's get back into the condition area, and the first one that we really want to look at is going to be, let's just do time interval. Time interval is very handy because it's going to base itself on the actual timeline. So if you have something that you want to have it happen at frame 20 to frame 30, all you have to do is create a time interval, set the start frame to be 20, the end frame to be 30. And you can see he's got an invert checkbox there. If you check that, it means that it's going to output a true anytime except within this range. But we want to go ahead and only output true when it's inside that range, so invert's going to be off. So the time interval, when it reaches frame 20, it's going to start being true, and it's going to be true and output a true on the out boolean until frame 30. And let's go ahead and look at what happens here. Now we've got this all group that we had created. We're going to go ahead and come over and just switch that to the red group. And we're going to create something else in order to see the effect of this condition. We're going to create a position born. We'll drop him in there. And what we're going to do then is we're going to take this time intervals out and connect it to the position born's on. So that position born is only going to create particles when it receives an on input that's true. And we want position born to born green particles. And let's go ahead then and we'll just use the particle, the red particle position, and connect that there. And you can see here red is moving along and nothing's happening until we reach frame 20. And once we reach frame 20, this time interval has turned on, and you can see we start to create some green particles out here. It's going to create them until we reach 30, and then it's going to stop. So time interval is very simple. It just takes a look at the existing max timeline, and will create particles, or I'm sorry, it'll output a Boolean, true or false, based on the time you specify here. Let's take a look what happens when we invert that time. It's going to start off now. It's saying when you're inside 20 to 30, I want you to output a false. And so from 0 to 20, it's going to go ahead and be outputting a true now into the position born. So we see those green particles. Once we hit 20, time interval kicks in and says, hey, we're inside 20 to 30. I want to invert my output and give a false now. So no particles are born. There's a false condition coming into position born's on input. And once we hit 30 again, it starts going to borning particles. Okay, so that's time interval. That's pretty simple. We'll go ahead and Alt and right click to get rid of him.